Hello doll friends, this is Michael Canadas with the Grovian Doll Museum and the Carmel Doll Shop. We are here today with our friend Denise Bisi, and we're going to talk about a subject matter, a genre.
A genre.
A
yes.
genre, because it could be anytime, any era.
Right, through the ages, right.
Now the particular character, and in dolls, pretty much from the beginning, there have been dolls that represent characters. However, this character goes back to antiquity, and the first time the story was ever written down was in the 10th century.
Wow.
Isn't that?
That's amazing.
So it's a character that is in many cultures. It can change, a little slight variation, but the story basically remains the same. But where it really got going, the story of Little Red Riding Hood, was in the court of Louis XIV, the Sun King, and a story was written based on all those fables that it had gone on, and it was rewritten as probably an adult play acting, probably slightly risque.
Oh, could have been fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we're talking 1697. And the writer was Charles Perrault, which will give you an image so you can see him. And we picked one image, and he looked kind of slightly like a wolf. So here we have on the table a selection of, this was not collected up for this. This was just things that we had in our shop and in our collection. And then we asked Denise to bring a few items to kind of fill it out. But here you can see there is a huge range of Red Riding Hood things available. And I personally know collectors that collect Red Riding Hood, children's literature, decorative items, and dolls.
Well, I can see there's so many different kinds of dolls, as well as other
Absolutely.
things. Yeah.
So we're going to start with the youngest, because in a way, the youngest on the table represents the oldest. So this is our doll Belinda that has been recreated off of one of our Georgian wooden dolls. And I believe that if you go back on the story of the Little Red Riding Hood, you will find that she was a maiden, that she wasn't a little girl.
Oh,
as time goes by, she's getting younger and younger. So I think that she was just right at and that a lot of psychologists say she's just right on the cusp of womanhood. So I think that Belinda represents very well. And if we were in colonial Williamsburg, which is where the story goes she's from, her cape and hood would be called a cardinal. Now, I can't find anybody that can tell me why they're called cardinals. Is it because of cardinals, religious cardinals, the Catholic Church, or is it because of birds? They kind of look a little bit like birds. So she's representing, not a little later than 1697, of course, but you kind of get the concept of the play of that. Now, Denise, I didn't know, you didn't notice that there was a big old bottle of liquor on the
I didn't.
So you did.
Sure, I did.
So what I love about the story is she's off to visit Grandma who's sick, who needs cake or pie, if you like, cake and wine. so I guess it has health benefits to it. So
flushes out a little.
So she is the youngest on the table. So then I want to do the next youngest, which I would think, tell me about this piece that you brought.
About this little?
No, this one.
This one.
Because we're going youngest to...
Okay, right. This is a wooden doll made by Mary Lee Sundstrom, who's from Southern California. I got this, I think it was 1995 or so she was doing these, and she's done many storybook dolls. They are jointed in the arm, so she can, let's see.
She can hold her basket.
She can hold, or she's actually, this one No, this one is just
bent arm.
yes, yes.
But that's kind of clever because it's sometimes hard to have a jointed doll hold the basket.
Right, right.
So she intended this to to be Little Red Riding Hood.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Yes, yes.
And I see a lot of Hitty in her.
Well, she did do many Hitty dolls.
did she?
She did
Okay.
beautiful Hitty dolls. I think she may have started with Hitty dolls, at least as far as I know as a collector, doll collector. And then she went into other storybook characters.
Okay.
So she did beautiful Hitties.
So you can see that this is a fairly, I mean, not contemporary, but fairly contemporary artists. And they're using the appeal of Little Red Riding Hood to sell product.
Right. And now all of a sudden it went out of my mind.
It happens.
I know, doesn't it happen? I always wondered that. Like,
Tell me why I'm here.
What's wrong with Michael?
It happens. It happens. Well,
It doesn't matter.
We can
We can come back to it.
But I think since we are in California, we have an obligation to talk about one of the greatest success stories. And I mean, in her time, she was the most successful doll maker, and with $1 million worth of orders behind.
Oh my!
Excuse me, $1 million dolls behind.
Dolls.
So
Wow.
she was always behind. So that's Nancy Ann Abbott, who was working in a bookstore in San Francisco, and she had been in the movie business in Hollywood, and she knew costuming and dabbled, besides being an actress, but dabbled in costuming. And one day she decided, maybe I should dress some dolls to represent the storybooks that they were trying to sell. And the rest is history, because the dolls became an instant success, and pretty soon she had one of the largest doll manufacturing companies in the world. And Storybook, from the beginning of her company until the end, Red Riding Hood was always a part of it.
That's
And
always a
this is actually belongs to a friend of ours who is 86, and this was her childhood doll. And I think we should also point out that these are really the first collector dolls, because if you notice, it says "We dolls for we collectors."
Oh, okay.
So
they weren't meant to be played with.
they really
necessarily.
weren't. They're meant to go on your little.
And she has such a pretty box with it.
Yes, and
which,
I mean, I see polka dots like this, and you just know. Now, there's lots of different eras of these. You could just collect Nancy Ann Little Red Riding Hoods, and you could probably have 100 different ones.
Were they always this size?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's great.
And here we have, kind of again going off of time frame, we have a nice pair of Rouge shoes that would be ideal for that brew coming our way someday, dressed as Little Red Riding Hood, because I think those
Just
would
waiting for her
make it
boots.
make
Yeah,
it
that would
work.
be perfect. They're beautiful.
And I think we should look at these pieces, which I think are spectacular, and these are Arnold print work. And in original doll buying and manufacturing, there's no cheaper doll than these. So these were pennies a piece. But look at the lithography.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just beautiful.
Shadow shaded and beautiful.
And
very detailed.
This is a very cheap cotton in its time, but boy, this
now
is
isn't it
now
nice?
you would just die to get some of this.
beautiful.
So here you can see what it pretty much, probably 90% original color saturation, and then you can see
This made up.
this made up piece.
Look at that.
But this has a lot of charm.
And it's very huggable.
And don't go always by this 1892 date. This is kind of a starting date, and then they just kept making them as long as people. Now, I think I put this here because this is a nice little Griner style china, and she's got a great little shoes, a great little size, a great little dress. But you know what would set that whole thing up?
A little red cape?
A little red cape.
Would be,
so,
she's got
you
her
know,
little
if I could get a
baskets.
free couple of hours, I think I could get her set up.
Perfect.
So I'm going to save this one for last because I really am envious of that. And then, of course, our great American, great American company in Vermont, R. John Wright. So, of course, they did their version of Little Red Riding Hood. And I think that they captured it just perfectly.
Oh, very quality
And
fabrics.
let's see, so we've got bread, we've got a couple of pears, no wine. Grandma's not going to make it through.
But look at her little, you know, almost cobbled shoes.
Yeah, I don't think you can find anything that's wrong with their products.
No.
I think they're just some of the best. And this is not a super, super early, but it's fairly early in their collections of things. And I think that there's a genius in how they put together their textiles. Don't you think?
Yes,
See that?
absolutely.
Yeah. And I think that this fabric is just some...
I mean, it makes you want to look at it.
Yeah, you know, just a
little
inexpensive fabric, but just very perfect.
Yeah.
Now, the one thing that I always think is interesting is, you know, they send off... Mom had to be sick or having some kind of a breakdown to send the kid off on her own.
Oh, to see Grandma?
To see Grandma. So we have to think that, you know, in 1697, the concept that there were a lot of diseases and things, and who knows. And then I think that what Little Red Riding Hood, and this one, some of them are very determined. And then you have this one. I mean, she's so sweet. Anybody could fool her.
Sweet.
So this is an American piece, and this is a Babyland rag. I mean, it looks slightly. It's following the success of the. I just forgot. See, it's contagious.
I know.
The Colombian
doll.
So it's got kind of that Colombian look, except that this was done at a much lower price point. So you have the printed face, and then it would be hand touched a bit.
But who wouldn't have loved that? Though?
But isn't that a beautiful doll? You know?
It makes me want to
touch her,
hold on to her. You know, yeah.
And the French fashions here were a little bit miffed that they haven't gotten any attention this season. So since they have little red hoods, they decided that they would come out, and this is Lucy's, and she has a lot of ensembles that she could wear this. Now, it's not. I haven't seen in literature that there's a definite. It's the hood. It's not about the size of the cape. But
right, I've seen illustrations from different periods, short or long.
Yeah.
And maybe it depended on the
time. So that's why she gets to be here. Or that's our story, anyways. Yeah. And then we have another.
Her as well. Yeah.
I think she can pull off Red Riding Hood, the Mathilde Romer, easier than Hire, because I don't think you could get anything over on her.
Past her.
So I think we should move to, of course, we have a Jumeau, and it's a factory chemise. And I'm not saying that that's a factory cape, but it certainly works. And,
it works.
And what I think makes this special is if you're building a collection where you want to have an example of, and maybe you're not wild about open mouth chameaux, but the costume makes it much more complex.
Right.
I think it's
brings the story alive.
Yeah, it does. And she does have a very a nice innocent
face.
So, and then we have a Simon and Halbig, 1488, and I don't know where I found. I was just going through some clothes, and I found that cape, and I thought, you know what? I think that'll fit her. And it gives her a tremendous amount of personality. And again, I think she's got a very sweet look. And then this little kid here, which is
That's
a
adorable.
Heubock. And look at that dewy bisque.
Yeah, I was just
You don't see that every day. Usually they're very almost kind
more
of flat.
matte.
Yes,
Right.
matte.
But look at those clothes too.
Yeah.
She's fabulous.
And I think that she could laugh off a wolf without any problem. Now, the one thing
Very
I was
cute.
really shocked about us is that we've done a lot of children's literature in our time, and we didn't have one single Red Riding Hood book. And then I found this when I was going through things, and this little beautiful book was made for us by David Kendall from the journal that we
Isn't
edited, Tell Me
they're
a Story.
amazing people,
Yes.
Pam and
And so
David.
this is way more, I mean, he made that.
Yes.
You feel that.
Yeah,
Isn't that
no,
just
I know.
fantastic?
I know. They're wonderful. They're incredible.
And I always
people.
think of Red Riding Hood, I think of them. So that was really nice to have. And then again, we have a Alice China. So now we're doing cross-pollination of storybook, an Alice China. Really, all you have to do is put a cape on her, and she's ready for Red Riding Hood.
Perfect.
And then one of the earliest things on the table, which we were not going to go into it because you'll watch our other video on paper dolls, but we have Fanny.
Look at that.
And in her wardrobe of clothes,
That's just amazing.
guess what she's got? She's got the Red Riding Hood, the complete package,
Right,
you know,
her
with
little
all
basket
the provisions.
That's fabulous.
So then I
Fabulous.
think we are at the point that I am so jealous because you brought this today
Isn't
that I
she
can
cute?
hardly
Oh,
stand it.
I'm so happy. I'm so glad.
So let's bring her up
Oh, I'm
so
so-
everybody can,
Aw,
everyone else can be jealous too.
Yes. A little Steiner, a little C series.
And we're talking tiny. So we're
Right.
what, 9 inches?
Maybe a little less.
Maybe 8?
8.5. She has leave her eyes so her eyes can open and close. And she has a wardrobe of clothes. So I decided to put this on her
I
with
think
this
that's
little cape
perfect.
and this little hat.
Yeah, that's darling.
But this came with her.
And now, did you know she had this when you got? I mean, this was probably not the piece you went, oh wow, I'm so excited that it's got this.
No, but
It
there.
It gives her a whole other
right.
dimension.
Right. No, I loved it.
Yeah,
So it's fun.
a wonderful doll. Now, does she have a basket?
She doesn't.
Oh, we'll have to get her a basket.
no, we'll have to get her one.
Oh, darn
Oh
it.
man. Yeah. We'll have to maybe let's see. Well, this is very new. So, but she something like that.
That's a good scale.
That's the the
you know
look.
what? When you're in Williamsburg, you can learn how to take branches and make baskets from the basket
Can
maker.
I do that?
Yes.
Okay. On my time off.
Yeah. So, really, to finish up Red Riding Hood, what is important? It's a moral tale, and it has my favorite point of it is you have a path to take. Do not stray from your path. Little Red Riding Hood wanted to pick some pretty flowers for her grandma, and she went off the path, even though she was told to stay on the path. And I think that that's the real moral of the story. The poor wolf, who we haven't looked at, who's fantastic, the poor wolf was only doing what wolves do. Now, all these cute little dolls do terrible things to the wolf in the end. So you have to figure which one would do all those terrible things.
Yes,
and the other thing is, you know, when someone asks you to take off your clothes and get in bed with them, and that is in the 19th century. It's a cautionary.
Yes.
It's in 19th century books. And I didn't mention that later on, to keep Little Red Riding Hood going, the Grimms, when they went around Europe and collected up stories in the 1850s, they added their version to keep it going. And by the way, the demise of the wolf changes in every story of what the whole thing happens. But it's a great thing to collect. I mean, if you start looking, there are lots of souvenir. This is a part of a tea set,
little tin,
you know, with little, you can see,
that's
as
lovely.
I said, she gets younger and younger as time goes by. And then you can see there's another little tiny cutout book. It's just a fun thing to, and think about it, like a
different genres.
Yeah,
I mean,
at Christmas time you can set up a beautiful display, and everything is diverse, but the theme unifies it all.
Right.
Well, friends, thank you for joining us. We'll be back a little later. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Remember to like, subscribe, and hit that notification button.